topics in today's party chat episode are E3 returns in 2023, God of War Ragnarok, this time confirmed for release date and pre-order info. Nintendo released a new Switch that is not a freaking Pro model, but we'll get into that one. Nintendo adds a new N64 game to their NSO and a brand new game trial. I'm Jared here with Five9 Direct Team, and we are welcoming for the first time. This is definitely the first time ever I think I've ever recorded with this person. But we are joined today by Gale. I look at Gale, aka like the Genshin guy, but this is also the Dokkan guy. This is also, I think, the Legends guy. I mean, Gale plays everything. But Gale, what's up? Welcome to the Party Chat Show, dude. Thank you for coming through.
Hey man, I'm glad to be here. I've been wanting to appear on one of these, to be quite honest, especially when there's some interesting topics, and boy, are there some good ones. I'm ready to get into it, honestly. I'm ready to get into it.
Awesome. So, Gale, before we jump into the first topic, I always got to ask the co-host, what game are you currently playing? Give me something. And Gale, you better not hit me with Dokkan. I know the Dokkan anniversary thing is happening. I didn't even know that was happening, by the way. I hit you up yesterday, and then I was like, oh, I think Gale's streaming. And then I realized, it apparently is the Dokkan anniversary. I had no clue. But you got to give me something that's not Dokkan. So what are you playing? Tell me.
Of course, I'm not going to include Dokkan or any gacha in this, of course. I got to leave that to the side, you know? This is, of course, more so the official, you know, the console games and stuff we have to talk about. And I think the ones that I've been playing the most, that I've been loving the most, first and foremost, has to be Xenoblade. I'm getting ready to, I'm getting ready for that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 drop, of course, later this month. I'm done with the first game, in all honesty. I'm just doing the future connected stuff, so that extra DLC thing that they added. And then I want to get right into Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Along with that, of course, I have been playing some other titles as well. I've been playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth again, ready to get into Digimon Survive later this month. Again, another new title coming up, right? Outside of that, I've been playing a couple of other games like Football Manager and stuff like that. I love these sports simulator games where it's like you're taking the role of these manager positions and trying to effectively take control of a team. You got to deal with a lot of like numbers and stuff like that because you got finances to deal with and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a long haul sort of game that I can casually play on the side, like if I'm on like a plane or something. So I've been playing that as well, just casually, but the main ones are Xenoblade and Digimon Cyber Sleuth.
Damn, Gale. Okay, well, I'm not gonna lie, Gale. I didn't know you were playing all those games. That's great to know. I'm glad to see that. See, for anybody who's watching, you know, Five9, we do play other games than just like the gacha games. So you know, just putting that out there. We play other games. But awesome, Gale. Real quickly for me, Gale, I've been playing a game that I did not expect to piss me off as much as it has. I mean, Gale, there's very few games that get me to like want to take my controller and just chuck it. And like, it's very few. And usually they're Souls games. Gale, this game that I've been playing is called Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Yes, Crash Bandicoot 4. So Gale, if you didn't know, it dropped on PlayStation Plus for the month of July. It was one of the games. And so I was like, hey, I didn't play it. I mean, I played the trilogy, right? I played the old school games, right? I played it as a kid, and I played the trilogy, the remastered ones. And then I never played 4. So what an awesome surprise, right? That we got it for one of our subscriptions for the month of July for PS Plus. So I played it, Gale. I did not expect it to be as hard as it freaking was, dude. I mean, I played the Crash games, like I said, back when I was a kid, really, for the most part. That's the most I've ever played them. And they were never that bad. Dude, this game, for whatever reason, was so freaking hard. And like, I'm not even talking I switched difficulties or anything. It was crazy. It was platforming hell, but it was a rewarding, but so freaking frustrating, dude. But have you ever played the Crash games?
I have played the original Crash games, actually, but I haven't played Crash Bandicoot 4, but I heard a lot of things. Now, I mean, you're just adding on top of the pile and the list I've heard of people saying, oh, it's actually a lot more challenging and a lot more difficult than the original. So, you know what? It's making me more and more intrigued to actually go out of my way and play it in the future. So maybe in the future, maybe not right now, because honestly, with how the upcoming months are, I don't have the time, in all honesty. There's just too many games.
It's insane.
It's just too many games.
All right, fair enough. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in to the news stories with the very first news story, Gale. Let me read this to you. E3 is coming back. We're getting this from Andy Robinson over at VGC. So the ESA officially announced that E3 is going to return in June of 2023 for the first in-person event in 4 years. And so just to clear that up, people are going to be like, oh, I thought it was like 2 years. No, they switched to like a digital format, like, 3 years ago, I think at this point, but they skipped out on the last like 2 years, but in person, 4 years it's been. But the cool thing is that ReedPop, the events company behind PAX, EGX, New York Comic Con, and many more, is officially going to take over running of E3 in 2023. ReedPop said that they listened to the feedback from the gaming community and plans to honor what's always worked about the industry event while reshaping what didn't. And ReedPop and the ESA were quoted saying that they tossed around ideas to blend consumer and business elements to work in ways to turn the event into more of a celebration of games versus like a battleground. They even discussed having other shows as part of the E3, like Summer Game Fest, which is kind of weird. And yeah, I want to add this in at the very end. Summer Game Fest, right? This is the other show that's kind of been popped up with Jeff Keighley that's kind of been taking that spot of like E3 a bit. And Summer Game Fest ironically reminded everybody on the same day, literally I think minutes after the E3 statement, that they're returning in June of 2023 as well with their first in-person event. So it's like war is pretty much on. So Gil, I want to toss this to you. I want to pose you the question of saying E3, it's coming back. Yep. At this point, do you feel like it's even worth coming back? I mean, between Summer Game Fest, E3, right? I mean, we have the rest of like here's the thing, we have a lot of in-person events, PAX, right? Some of our team, including me, right? We went to just PAX East, maybe PAX West, right? They have the other like in-person events too. So it's kind of like E3 wants to turn to something like that. So it's like, but we kind of already have that. But if not that, well, then maybe they'll go back to their roots. But then it's like we have Summer Game Fest. So it's like, it looks kind of weird. So just curious, do you care for E3 to come back at this point?
Look, for me, I remember the good old days, first and foremost. I want to talk about
facts.
Like
big
2015. Facts. I still remember, the best moments from E3 to me are, like, for example, 2015, when we got that first look at Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll never forget that moment. That was so massive, in all honesty. I could not believe what I was seeing there. And there have been moments like that at E3. And the problem has been, in my personal opinion, over the last couple of years, is that it's become too public. It's become too much like PAX, and it seems like they're pushing in on with that. I would prefer if they stayed with the industry, the industry event sort of motto.
Yeah.
Right? But then the problem is, like you said, there's Summer Game Fest. Like, that's just basically like E3, and especially if they are turning to an in-person event, it is even going to be more so like that. And that's a problem because companies will be split at that point, and they will prefer most likely Summer Games Fest because it's been succeeding over the last 2-3 years, where E3 has failed miserably, arguably, right? And we have other events as well. Like you said, we have PAX, but if you look at industry events as well, you have Gamescom in August, you have Tokyo Game Show, and they're so spread apart, so it works really well in that regards, where in August, these companies can show off their games in more detail because they're releasing in November or something, right? And then their initial trailers can be in June, where E3 or Summer Games Fest is. But like I said, it's so hard to decide between these two. And most companies will probably go to Summer Games Fest. So in my opinion, I think this is a little bit of a misplay from them. I think they should be targeting probably another month more so than anything else, because in this case, they're just going to go up in head to head with another sort of event and convention that's just not going to work, because they're going to lose out miserably. I don't think they're going to be able to get back, companies like EA. EA is definitely not going to come back to E3. They were the first ones to leave E3, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think it was in 2019. They were the ones who started the whole EA Play thing. Sony as well will most likely just stick to their state of play. Nintendo is enjoying themselves doing the directs anyways. They will probably participate a little bit like they did at Summer Games Fest, but I think they're going to still be focusing primarily on their directs and stuff like that. They're not going to return with the Treehouse at E3 at all. I don't think so, at least. So for me, I think this is a little bit of a misplay. I think Summer Games Fest, they'll take it away by a mile. And I think they need to, sort of restructure, rebrand in a way, sort of like, target another month, target something else entirely, because this is just not going to work, I don't think, personally.
No, I think you're pretty spot on with exactly how I feel. I feel the same way. For E3 to come back now, it's kind of like, Honestly, I mean, people are even talking about it now with Summer Game Fest, where it's kind of like, cool. It's nice to have that big industry event show. I think everybody looks forward to that. In fact, the funny part, Gail, is that people see Summer Game Fest and are like, yeah, E3's back. And I'm like, nah, bro, like that's Summer Game Fest. Like
different.
There's still that problem now. Right, there's still that problem now where people are not even, you know, it's so blurry, it's so messy in terms of like how people already even are perceiving the shows.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with you with the fact that like E3's coming back. Okay, like if they come back and they try to do more of that industry style event, right, where they want to have the big reveals, right, that it does get to the point where it's like I feel like even Summer Game Fest, well, like at least this last one, they even kind of struggled to get some games themselves. I mean, aside from what the last big finale, which was I think Last of Us Remake. Sorry, Last of Us Remake was like the big kind of one of the big announcements there. So aside from that, it's kind of like they weren't even really able to get too much of the big publisher titles, anyways. Xbox Bethesda had their showcase like a couple of days after that. PlayStation had a State of Play just before that. Nintendo just had their own like partner mini direct after that. I mean, they still probably have their first party stuff, just like how PlayStation still has some first party stuff to talk about. I think even in that aspect, it's kind of like they're not doing too well. So for E3 to come back, it's like I don't think they're going to be able to even, you know, have much of a better help, I think, either. Yeah. And so if they do come back as like more of like a consumer show, right, like more of like a PAX, it's kind of like, well, Summer Game Fest wants to do that too now. So it's like, well, now they're going to battle. If they choose the month of June, they're going to have that same kind of battle. So it's like, I do kind of agree with you. Maybe they should not try to take June. Maybe come back and try to do, you know, like July or something. I mean, I don't know why everybody has to choose June. Yeah. That's another thing, Gil. Why the hell do we keep choosing June? Like, we have the whole summer. Like, it's crazy to me. But I think in my opinion, I agree with you. I think they can push it.
Yeah, I think they choose June because that is realistically the month where things start to creep up, right? The news starts to pop up, leaks start to happen, right? So they realize that most companies will be dropping their big titles, their big, you know, names in the month of June to July. Like I know EA is planning on dropping some stuff for like Need for Speed and some other games this month as well for November, right? So it makes sense to go for June to July. In my opinion, I think one good alternative is probably like the month of December. We never have any big convention during like November to December. Why not target those months? And especially if you're going to go for like an in-person event, you can have people testing out the new games that have just dropped. That way, you know, companies can see like, okay, how are people feeling about this game at this event kind of thing. I think that would be really, really cool if they go for maybe the end of the year kind of event, right? But then of course you have the Game Awards, but that's the awards. This is going to be like an in-person event where you can go test out the games, see if there's any news coming up and everything. But like you said, I think you make a very good point as well. Companies nowadays are being very, very cautious and slow with their announcements. They're not just dropping it like all at once in the month of June. It's a steady flow. Like even EA, like I mentioned, they're dropping news for Need for Speed this month, but we've had news about FIFA last month and then stuff like that. They're slow rolling this information. They're not dropping it all at once like they used to. So I think that's also something that's changed in the industry as well, is where they're not going to drop everything at once anymore. It's going to be slow. So, you know, you're going to have to spread out like these conventions anyways, because not everybody's going to be able to get everything in one shot.
No, agreed. And Gail, I'm gonna leave you on one final question. Do you see a future where E3 and Summer Game Fest just come together, bro? They just say, hey, you know what? Let's not fight. Let's just come together. Do you think you could see that ever happen?
I think it's not impossible. I think it could happen in the future. I don't think immediately. I think there would have to be a lot of, you know, behind the scenes works, you know, between Jeff and, you know, Reed Pop and, you know, the ESA as well. It would have to be a lot of contractual work and stuff like that. So it would take a long time, you know, deciding who does what, how much everybody gets and stuff like that. But I do think it can happen in the future, because at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, these, especially when it comes to, you know, hosting these in-game events, everybody has the same idea and everybody wants to do the same thing. It's just a matter of, you know, getting to that point for where everybody's happy to do the same thing the way they want to do it, right? And there's gonna have to be a little bit of compromise from both sides, I feel, when it comes to this. But yeah, I think it's not impossible, but not immediately, not soon.
Gail, I think Jeff Keighley just wants it all, buddy. I don't think he gives a shit. I think he's ready to just do his thing. I think, personally, I think Jeff Keighley is ready to just take them out of business. He's ready to do his own thing. He's already everybody knows him, right, from Game Awards, right, Opening Night Live. Like, he's already gotten his name out there, and he's been blowing up and everything. And so Summer Game Fest has also been taking off. And I have a feeling this man is ready to take out E3. He's ready to become the guy, the show, the man, his thing. So that's just my personal take, but I would love to see how that's going to end up happening for next year, because that'll be something that we're definitely going to keep our eyes on as, everything starts popping off and dates start coming out. It's going to be like, okay, how is this going to look? Because it potentially will be incredibly big. But Gail, we're going to go ahead and jump into story number 2 here. God of War Ragnarok finally got a confirmed release date and pre-order info. And we're getting this from Grace or Lady over at the PlayStation blog. So let me read this to you guys. So PlayStation dropped 2 blog articles. First blog detailed the release date officially as November 9th, 2022. Yes, this year. Along with the new CG trailer dubbed Father and Son, basically showing Kratos and Atreus battling a bunch of enemies and then being confronted by a huge, I'm talking huge, freaking wolf. And then the second blog post, it was basically an unboxing video that featured motion capture and voice actor of Thor, Ryan Hurst, and Sony Santa Monica Studios art director Raphael Grassetti. And then they pretty much dropped, with that unboxing video, the different editions of the games that you can pre-order. So I'm going to read it. It's going to go down like this. There's the standard edition, pretty much just the game. Digital Deluxe Edition, pretty much just a digital copy, but with also some cool in-game cosmetics. They're even including a digital soundtrack, an art book, and a little bit more stuff too. And then you're getting into the bigger stuff, which is the Collector's Edition. That's going to come with the Knowledge Keeper's Shrine, and in that shrine, it's filled with a bunch of goodies like a steel bookcase, a dice set, some carvings, and a big Mjolnir replica, which I freaking want that, Gail. Then there's also the Jotnar Edition. This is pretty much the biggest one here. The Jotnar Edition is pretty much the same thing as the Collector's Edition, but with the addition of, they're going to give you a vinyl record by Bear McCreary. They have some soundtracks that are actually within the game. There's going to be a pin set, a ring, and a map, and again, just anything extra that kind of comes out. And Gail, all this is dropping on, or at least pre-orders is dropping to try to get one of these July 15th. At 10 a.m. Eastern time. So the release date, November 9th, people were saying it wasn't going to happen. And I freaking said like, yo, it's definitely going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. And it did happen. November 9th, 2022. So I want to toss it over to you. I know you said you played a little bit of God of War 2018. So I'm just curious your overall thoughts. Yes. Are you excited for God of War Ragnarok? You think you might try to get into it maybe a little bit later, or you think maybe you'll try to play the first one in time to play the second one? Give me your thoughts. What do you think you're going to get into this?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a PC player, so I'm gonna have to wait anyways to get it. But honestly,
that's true, fair.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be sooner rather than later. I think Sony is ramping up this whole PC PS kind of combination. I think they've seen what Xbox is doing, and they're like, okay, that's actually kind of a good idea, right? And especially with the sales of God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man's coming out next month. I think they're gonna ramp it up a little bit. It'll still not be on release date. I don't think it'll be in November as well. It'll be probably maybe 6 months later or something. But I kind of like God of War 2018. It is a bit of a shock going from God of War's 1 to 3's combat style to this one, right? It's a massive difference, right? Massive change. So there is that. I kind of don't mind it necessarily. It's something different, it's something unique, and it kind of fits this whole shift to the Norse mythology and everything. I kind of like that as well. And overall, I'm excited to see what Ragnarok has to offer. I think, from what I've seen of the story and stuff, because I did watch a couple of playthroughs here and there, so I know what happens generally in the story. I'm very much looking forward to it. My one concern, however, comes more so from the additions, low-key. This is just a little bit of a nitpick, more so than anything else. I don't get why, if I'm not mistaken, the Collector's Edition and the Steelbook, the Jotnar Edition, or Jotnar Edition, I should say, they give you the Steelbook case, but they don't give you a physical copy, which is kind of weird. They just give you the digital code, so it's kind of weird in that regards. You get the Steelbook case, but you don't get the game disc to put into that Steelbook case. It's just a display case, so a little bit weird there. I'm not gonna lie, personally, but yeah, that's just me. Overall, I'm still excited. I'm surprised we haven't seen any gameplay though. That's one thing I have to say.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I think, Gail, I'm gonna say, I think for game, like when they show more for this game, I think it's going to come out at this point. We had our state of play back in early June, right? So I think at this point, we're going to be getting the next footage for this game. I think it's going to be the next big PlayStation showcase event. And typically they have those around I think it's September timeframe.
Yeah.
So I think they're not going to bother showing this game again until that showcase event. Because to me, Gail, this is how you open the showcase event. You open it with 15 minutes of God of War footage, and we're going to go crazy for it. And I think that's just an awesome opener. And then you end it, because typically at that showcase, they want to show, right, what's coming out for the rest of this year. What's the big closeout for this holiday season, and then what's to look forward to for 2023. Gail, in my mind, it's you open up a God of War Ragnarok, again, 15 minutes of gameplay, give a little bit of story, and then you end that bad boy with Spider-Man 2 or something. Man, that would be, or Wolverine, that would just be icing on the cake. But that's the answer to your question. I think that's when we'll probably see more to it. And then I'm going to add on to that, Gail. I'm probably getting the Jonar edition. And I know, I forgot, Gail, I thought you had a PlayStation 4. I don't know why I thought you had a PlayStation 4. But PC, I get you. PC, I get you. So I'm going to get the Jonar edition because I want to get all the freaking bells and whistles. Yep. But I want to pose one more last question to you, Gail. Do you think that God of War Ragnarok PC version comes out in 2023?
I think so. I have a feeling it will be. I don't know when, but I think with the direction PlayStation is going in and everything, it's seemingly more likely that we're gonna start seeing closer and closer release dates. I know it took 4 years for God of War 2018 to come over, Horizon Zero Dawn. It was 4 years for Spider-Man to come over, I think it is, right? But I think with how it is right now in terms of the overall scene of PlayStation and the direction of gaming as a whole, I think they want to try and maximize sales, and the best way to do that, drop it on PC as well, because you're gonna get more customers that way. And it's evident by the sales they got from God of War 2018, Horizon Zero Dawn, what they'll get from Spider-Man for sure, right? So I definitely think they'll make it happen in 2023.
Yeah, I agree. And exactly everything you just said. I think we've been seeing a nice big push into what PlayStation wants to do with kind of shifting into that PC scene. So I do think it's going to come sooner than later. So I agree with that. Gail, we can go ahead and let's jump into some Nintendo stuff, all right? Enough PlayStation. We've been there. Let's move to some Nintendo stuff, right? This is some familiar territory between us. So story number 3. Nintendo reveals a brand new Switch OLED model, and it's coming. This is from Ryan Dinsdale over at IGN. The first special edition OLED Nintendo Switch themed around Splatoon 3. And yes, this is not a Pro model or anything. This is just another OLED model Switch, but it is one of the first themed ones, and it's Splatoon 3, which makes sense. Splatoon 3 is dropping, I think it's in September. Yep. But Nintendo dropped a video on social media, pretty much just showing off the Switch model, what it looks like. It's going to obviously come with Joy-Cons, but they're special edition. They kind of have they feature a graffiti ink style. The artwork is really cool. It's kind of a gradient color scheme. I think one Joy-Con is yellow to green. The other one's purple to blue. The dock itself, it's going to have a special thing too. It's white. It has a yellow splat on it. Same type of graffiti style on it as well. It's going to retail at $359.99 US, which is basically $10 more than the standard Switch OLED model. The console will be released on August 26th, but the game itself doesn't release until September 9th, which means that it's not going to feature the game with it. So it's just the console by itself. Gail, you picking this up, or do you think you're even going to bother with this? Is this just a skip at this point? Do you even care about this, Gail? Tell me.
Honestly, I love the fact that Nintendo does these special models. I'm personally not going to get it because I don't have the money to splurge on all of these special editions that they keep dropping. Fair. I will say I absolutely love the Joy-Cons, in all honesty. That's one thing I want to try and pick up because my current Joy-Cons have started to drift. I mean, it has been 4 years, so it's expected. I'm not too stressed about it.
Makes sense.
But it's something that I'm probably going to pick up in the future. I'm not sure which one I want to pick up, these ones or the Animal Crossing ones. I could also wait to see if they drop one for the Pokemon games as well, right? But I always like Nintendo dropping these special models. But if I'm going to pick it up, no, probably not. And I don't think anybody should unless you're buying a Switch for the first time. And even then, the question arises, should you pick up a Switch so close to potentially a Pro model release? Because I'm going to be real, I definitely think a Pro model is coming in 2024. Yes, it's still a year and a half away, but it is close in the grand scheme of things, it's close, right? So to me, I think you probably want to skip this. And even if you own a old Switch, I think you could easily skip this OLED model, especially if you're keeping your Switch docked 90% of the time, which is something I do, right? The only time I use the Switch is outside of the house, is pretty much when I'm traveling on a plane or something, right? Otherwise, I rarely carry my Switch along with me. It's more of a docked thing than it is a portable thing. So to me, a cool concept. I love Nintendo for doing this. I feel like PlayStation, I know Xbox does do these special models, but they're usually just the like giveaways and stuff. They never release them to the public. And same with and PlayStation, I don't, when was the last time we got a special edition for the PlayStation? I think it was Spider-Man, or was it some other model? I don't remember.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
The last one that I remember is like the Spider-Man one, I think. I mean, they had a Black Ops one at one point for PS4. I think it was like a Black Ops 3 special edition one. Those are like the two top of my head that I can remember, but yeah, it's been a while, definitely.
So I feel like these guys should do more special editions, because I think it's just a cool thing. People are going to be there to pick it up as well. It's not as if they're going to be making a loss on it necessarily. I don't think so, at least, because you're going to have a consumer for it. You're going to have collectors going for it. You're going to have first-time buyers buying it as well. I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I love that Nintendo does this. It's just a shame that the other guys don't do it often, or release it to the public often, I should say. So yeah, I think cool, but I'm not gonna pick it up. I think is the TLDR there.
Gail, I'm pretty much right there with you. I agree. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the Joy-Cons look dope. I mean, hey, if they want to sell those separate, hey, maybe I'll grab one or two, because it looks pretty dope. But aside from that, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's cool, but this is definitely obviously catering to those huge Splatoon fans, which is definitely not me. I'm not big into Splatoon, but obviously, right, there's Splatoon fans out there who are probably gonna look at this and be like, I need this, like it has to happen. And so yeah, definitely caters to those people. But Gil, where I differ from you is, I think a Switch Pro or a Switch 2 or a new Nintendo Switch, I think it's going to happen next year.
Really?
I don't think it'll be 2024. I think we're going to get it sooner, and I think it's dropping with Breath of the Wild 2. I think they're delaying it, and it's the best way to sell that, right? It makes sense. They sold the Switch, right, with Breath of the Wild 1, like when it first came out. So I think that's just me personally. I think that's what their plan is. That's what they're going to do. Wouldn't surprise me. It sounds like a Nintendo thing to do. You gave us the OLED model for a year, and you're ready to give us the next one already the next year after that. So it just sounds right. So I'm going to go with that. I think that's going to be the case. But yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, again, I agree. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's also very likely. The big reason why I was looking at 2024 more so is because that Mario Kart 8 DLC, man, that thing is going up until the end of 2023. I feel like what they're going to do is in 2024, and this is another new game coming out with the Switch Pro, and I'm thinking they're going to release Mario Kart 9 in 2024 with the new Switch is my guess. That's what I was thinking more so. But I do agree, Breath of the Wild 2 is also very possible, but I'm leaning more towards the Mario Kart 9 thing, low-key.
All right, well, we'll definitely have to see come next year. That'll be a pretty big thing. All right, we're going to jump into our final news story, and that's Nintendo adds a surprise N64 game to their Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, and then they added a brand new game trial. So basically, we're reading off of a tweet, and the official tweet reads, "Join Ash, Brock, and Misty as they gather in Puzzle Village to compete for the title of Pokemon Puzzle Master. Pokemon Puzzle League is coming to Nintendo Switch and for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members on July 15th. And then with that, right, it's the new game trial. And from July 6th to July 12th, Nintendo Switch Online members can try out the full version of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle as the new game trial. Gale, I have a couple things with this.
Okay.
I think the new NSO plus expansion pack N64 game is cool. I'm glad to see that there's still more games coming, because I think they hit all the games that they pretty much kind of showcased that we're going to come to it. So it's cool to see that they're adding more. But I'm just curious. I want to pose a question to you for the game trial. Now, they've been doing this for some time now. They add like these, I think it's every month. I think they're pretty consistent with every month. It's a different game trial, I think. But they've had some pretty cool games as of recent. I know recently, this is a good one. This is a great one in my opinion. But recently I got to do, what was it? The World Ends With You. I've never played it, and they had it as a game trial game at one point. Same thing with Monster Hunter Rise. They made it as a game trial game, and I was like, oh, this is dope. But Gail, my biggest pet peeve is they give you a week, and I freaking cannot stand that they only give you a week to play these games. And it gets to the point, Gail, where I'm like, I think about Xbox, right? I think about what they're offering with their services now, right? I mean, if you get Game Pass, you get that whole thing, right, with your subscription. Same thing with PlayStation Plus. You know, at least at the base value of PlayStation Plus, in that essential tier, you're at least getting your normal 3 games a month. And so it gets to the point where I look at PC, Gale. Your Epic Game Stores give you like 3 games a month, and I'm like, bro, Amazon Prime is giving you like 5 games a month, like. Gail, it gets to the point where I'm like, Nintendo, when are you going to give people like at least a free game a month with your subscription at the base value at that? So I look at Game Trial and I'm like, that's it. Like, that's literally it. That's what that is. But like, you're giving people a week to play the game, which, mind you, you can get these games done in a week. I usually do. If I really want to play that game, I will make sure I get it done in a week to take advantage of it. But I don't know. That's where my head's at, Gil. I'm like, man, when are they going to like add a certain thing where like, or just add a feature where they're just going to start giving a Switch game? There's so many. I don't see why that's an issue, in my opinion, at least. But I want to throw it over to you. How do you feel about the game trials? Do you even bother with them? Do you think that should change too? Like, are you in agreement? Give me your thoughts on it.
I think they should change. I absolutely agree. I think 1 week is too little. It should be at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3. Again, I would prefer if it was just the whole month, right? From the first
month, right? I agree.
From the 1st to the 30th. Just allow that, because the thing is, you have to remember, not everybody has the free time to play a game straight for a week, you know, and also people have other games to play as well, so they may not even be able to, you know, play these game trials. Like, I know I missed out on some because I completely forgot they were happening, or I was busy with other games, to be quite honest. So
True.
I would prefer if it was all there for a month, you know, just let it be there, let us access it whenever we want, pretty much for that month, and then they can move on to the next game, and so on and so forth. It doesn't have to stay there or anything of that sort. I'm okay with that. But also, I feel like the expansion pass needs to be improved a little bit. I like what they're doing in terms of like, oh, you don't have to pay for the DLCs or expansions or anything of that sort if you own the expansion pass, because that's what they're doing. Instead of, you know, making free games, they've done free DLC, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Animal Cross's DLC, the Mario Kart DLC, and a couple of others are now on the expansion pass, so you don't have to buy them if you have that expansion pass, Nintendo Switch Online, right? So that's cool, but again, it's kind of redundant if you don't own the game, right? That's also another issue. It's like they've done it in a decent way, but then there's also other problems with it that come along with it, kind of thing. And also, they need to start ramping up the releases of these Nintendo Switch, Nintendo 64 games, probably adding that the GBA games, because I know there were some leaks apparently, right? From what I remember, some leaks and rumors that there was source code for Game Boy Advance games coming to the Switch Online stuff. They need to do that ASAP. Obviously, I know there's the whole thing of like, why not just play on an emulator? But not a lot of people have PCs, not a lot of people have good phones, and you know, they might just be playing on the Switch, so may as well have the Game Boy Advance on the Switch as well, right? It's their platform. They can do whatever the hell they want with that, realistically. So I like the idea, what they have. It's just execution-wise, it's really poor.
Right. I'm right there with you. I mean, I don't even think I have anything else to add to that besides the fact that, like, I do fully agree that, like, I look back and I'm like, is my expansion pack worth it? Do I even make use of the DLC? Yeah, well, I don't even touch Mario Kart like that. So, like, I don't even use that. I don't play Animal Crossing. So that to me is like nothing. I will say the Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I think we're both getting that one. And it's cool to see like that expansion pack, that expansion pass that's coming out for the game will be on the expansion pack plus. So that's cool. Like, I'll finally get to use it, but it does get to the point where it's like, cool. I mean, am I even playing the N64 games like that? No, not really. You know what I do, Gail? I open up these games for a minute, Gail, and I play like the first level, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Like, I think I have my fun with it, and I usually just hop off. But I think, like I said, it does get to the point where it's like, yeah, like the value is still questionable. I think they're doing a good job, but I do think at that point you should add GBA games. That would be a good step up, right, to make that value even more worth it. But I still think, at the end of the day, man, they like game trials, like you said. I do think at least make it a month, right? And like that's so important. Like, at least make it a month. But if anything, like add a game, add a free game of the month or something. Like I do think that would help too. At least for me, justify paying for what I'm paying for, because what I'm paying for is almost like playing for PlayStation Plus at that point, right? So it does definitely beg that question 100% in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it,
Gail, any final thoughts? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think again, they have the right idea. It's just that they're also trying to maximize profits, which is fair. I mean, that's a business. That's how they run it. It makes sense, right? And they have consumers. This is one thing people forget about Nintendo. And, you know, I see we're the vocal minority on Twitter and stuff like that, right? Where we're saying, oh, they need to change the way they're operating and stuff, because you see, you know, people who aren't on Twitter, who aren't on Reddit, who aren't on any of these social media platforms, they're going to go out of their way and buy these Nintendo games and stuff like that because they find it worth it, and it's fair. So if they're making profits, they're making revenue from it, they're not going to change much. But like I said, I think over a period of time, I think there will be more value to, like you said, the expansion pass and stuff. It's just that these game trials as well, they need to be changed. That's the main thing I feel like that needs to be addressed. Yep. More so than anything else. I think the rest of it will improve over time, you know, the DLCs and stuff like that. But right now, the main focus, the game trials need to be a month long at the very minimum.
Fair enough, Gale, and I'm in full agreement with that. All right, that is pretty much it for our news stories. But before we go, as always, keep an eye out for some of these upcoming games. We got Time on Frog Island, cross-platform. It's coming out on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. That's on July 12th. And then check out Loopmancer coming out on PC. That is on July 13th. That's pretty much it for today's episode. As always, be sure to give us your thoughts on the stories that we talked about, or maybe we missed some stuff you want us to talk about in the comment section. Go ahead and drop your comment in that comment section spot. And again, that's pretty much it. Gale, thank you for joining us. You can find Gale at, I think, everything else, Gale. Where aren't you at on the 5-9 channels? Gale's on Animanga, right? Gale, I think you're the content manager of Animanga. Gale, I think even Dokkan, I think you do content for Dokkan. Are you also the content manager for Dokkan?
No, I'm not. I don't have that much.
Okay, I wasn't sure. But you can find Gale on our 5-9 mobile channel, basically, right? And then the Animanga channel. And then you'll probably see some Twitch streams. I know Gale's on some of the streams too. So Gale is everywhere. You'll find Gale everywhere if you haven't seen him already. But Gale, thank you for hopping in. Thank you for hanging out with us. And guys, thank you for watching. We're going to go ahead and end it here. I'm Jared. And again, that is Gale. We will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.